How many of you people out there have heard of leprechauns? Little people, small people, fairies or whatever. We all call them different names. But these leprechauns, they're about 3 foot tall, and they all wear green suits with lovely black boots. See, they were well known for cobbling, as it's called, making shoes, repairing shoes, and what all sorts of thing, all the time. But anyway, there was one man. He was 82 years of age, and his name was Jeremiah, and he lived in probably in the middle of nowhere. There was nothing, just a lane to his house, and then there was a road about 4 miles away from his house. But there was this massive big bush outside his house, about maybe 20 feet away from the house. And he kept looking at it and looking at it and looking at it. And one day he decided, I'm going to chop this down for firewood. It was a blackthorn, a huge big blackthorn bush. So he goes and gets his saws and his hammers and whatever he needed to cut the thing down. And just as he started, he heard a voice, "Leave her home alone." He turned around. Oh, you have to think, he said, "The leprechauns? Oh, let's leave them on. Let's see. There's a story going that if you catch a leprechaun and you ask him to bring you to the end of a rainbow, there's a big pot of gold waiting for you there. And the story goes that if you catch the little leprechaun and get a good grip on him and ask him for that wish, he has to do it. By leprechaun law, he has to bring you to the end of that rainbow to get that pot of gold. So the old man, Jeremiah, was very wise, and he began to talk nice and easy to the leprechaun. He asked him how old he was and how many he had in his family, how many were in the group. So anyway, it began to get nice and just lovely friendly chat. So Jeremiah decided that he would invite the group to the house for a drink. Now, Jeremiah used to make his homemade whiskey, what we in Ireland call poteen, Poteen. I think in America you call it hooch. I don't know what you call it elsewhere, but it's 100% pure alcohol, whiskey. I never tasted it, so I can't tell. But anyway, the whole group, Jeremiah, and we'll call Leprechaun's boss man Paddy, Jeremiah, and a group of 14 or 15, maybe 20, they trooped back to Jeremiah's house. Jeremiah went to a press and took out a big white jug. It was a huge thing with a stopper in it and a handle on the side. And he took down some glasses, but looked at the glasses and looked at the leprechauns. Oh, they're too big for the leprechauns. He says, egg cups. Yeah. So he took down a couple of egg cups. Now he didn't have enough to go around, but I'm sure they will share, he thought to himself. So Jeremiah fills up the egg cups and gives them to the leprechauns, and of course they swig it down, and then again the next one, until eventually 3 or 4 of them hit the ground, unconscious. One by one they all fell, until the only one that was left was Paddy. Paddy probably was the older of the lot of them, and he had probably had thousands of gallons of whiskey in his system, and he could hold it. But little by little, Jeremiah could see Paddy's head starting to fall. Yes, yes, I think I have him. So Paddy's head dropped onto his chest, and as it did, Jeremiah made a grab for him. But the next second, maybe within a second or two, Jeremiah woke up on his bedroom floor. And he's, what? Oh, for a minute he was dazed. He couldn't figure out what had gone wrong. I said I was probably dreaming. But he was fully dressed. His boots on, fully clothed. And he was shaking the head. Oh, I must have been dreaming. Maybe I don't know. I just don't know. So, anyway, he gets off the floor and rambles down to his kitchen and takes a look. And there's 4 or 5 or 6 egg cups all on the ground. And there was a terrible smell of alcohol. He said, what the hell? So he went to go get his drop of whiskey to wake himself up. But he then realised, wait now, my jug of whiskey was in that press. And now the empty jug is sitting on the floor. Think and think. Oh, what the hell? Oh, Lord, 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 Lord. Oh, was I dreaming? He couldn't understand. He just couldn't understand. A load of small little men in his house, they drank all his hooch. He woke up on the floor of his bedroom, fully dressed, came downstairs, nothing, only the empty egg cups, his empty, whatever you call it, jug. And, oh, was I dreaming or was I not? Jeremiah is now 98 years of age, and all he does all day, every day, he sits by the fire, after he lights it of course, and thinks back. Was I dreaming or was I not? Did it happen? And then he thinks, well, the egg cups were on the ground. It had to have happened. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And then guess what? 6 a.m. he woke up in his bed. The whole thing was a dream. End of story. Now, what do you think?